Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome to day number 11. I'm losing track of the days of our Judas Priest series, our countdown to Invincible Shield. And yes, we have made it to Ram It Down. Now, I'm having a look through the comments. I listened to this on YouTube actually while I was out and about. I didn't really have time to burn it and put it on the phone and all the rest of it. But looking for the comments, this one's actually more controversial than Turbo. And I read a few reviews and, getting a feel for it all. And, well, it seems that the band tried to overcompensate by going completely the other way after Turbo, and it kind of backfired. And I get it. I remember Ralph Vieira saying at the time, this is about a completely different album, but the analogy works, was he had more respect for Metallica in doing Load and Unload. He says, as much as I didn't like those albums, I respected the band more during those times because at least they were doing what they wanted to do. Rather, whether I liked it or not was neither here nor there. So he had more respect for Load and Reload, or even preferred Load and Reload to Death Magnetic, because Load and Reload were genuine. Death Magnetic, Metallica were just trying to be metal again. And I think that's kind of what's going on here. This album is very of its time. I mean, when people talk about the 80s, I heard someone rightfully saying once, it took a while for the 80s to actually become the 80s. It wasn't like just 1980, bang, it was there. It was actually quite late into the 80s where they're sort of aesthetic, and, you see these programs now like the Goldbergs, or what's that big one set in the 80s? Not Supernatural. Stranger Things. And it's like, yeah, the 80s wasn't actually like that. But this sounds very 80s. So it was 1988. How long ago? What was the gap between this and Turbo? I mean, yeah, Turbo's really 80s, but this, that was 86, and this was 88. They try and go heavier, but the production is really synthetic on it. I mean, right, this is a drum machine. Dave Holland is still in the band at this point, and he does do this tour. He leaves the band after the tour of this album. This tour is pretty big, pretty long as well, actually, 105 shows. And, it's, from what I've read in the book as well, Dave is on it, just not very much. But it's weird, because as we're going to go into it with Painkiller tomorrow, you got Turbo. As I said during that review, metal sort of went both. It was a fork in the road with metal. Were they going to go the Def Leppard route, or were they going to go the extreme route? And Priest did do both, really, with Turbo and Painkiller. And this basically is the gap between Turbo and Painkiller, isn't it? There's a lot of sections in this where I'm like, yeah, this is a precursor to Painkiller, and then they kind of got one foot left with Turbo. But then there's other parts in this album where I'm just like, they haven't got a clue what they don't know what they want to do at this point. So it's an odd album. It really is an odd album. But some people despise this album. Like, some people will go, no, this is actually their worst. If you are one of those people, I would say this album's not as bad as you remember it. And I would say it's actually heavier than you remember it as well. But, a mixed bag. But it's got its place in the catalogue, though. I would say that. It's a necessary album. It's a bit of a cleaning out the closet kind of album. But Ram It Down is a good opener. It starts off like pretty typical... like a typical Priest album opener, really. It's kind of in the vein of Free Will Burning, sort of rapid drums, good, riffing, and it's all, and Rob's screaming high pitched and ram it down, ram it down. And then just in the middle of the song, it goes like it's a football anthem. It's like da 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 da, and it's like it's been plonked straight in the middle of the song, and it completely derails the song for me. But apart from that, it's pretty good. Heavy metal. This is the thing. They're singing songs just about metal on this point. At this point, I'll tell you what it is with this album. It sounds very European. This sounds like a Halloween album, or your accepts of the world. It's like they've got their template. Yeah, like Accept have just been trying to remake this album their whole career. Heavy metal. They write a song about heavy metal, and it's probably the most least metal song ever. Starts off with a little twin like lead thing, which is a precursor for me for Leather Rebel on Painkiller, but we'll get to that tomorrow. And then it comes into this ding 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 ding, like this electronic drum kit, that ding, like this synth beat, ding 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 ding, heavy metal with these guitars. It doesn't quite work, does it? Love song again starts off. Reminds me of Phil Collins song, or something from David Bowie's 80s output. The Suit years, as he's known. But it's not a bad song actually, Love Zone, and it's got a pretty good chorus. Come and Get It is a good fun song as well. Hard as Iron ain't too bad. Again, that's quite thrashy, but with a Queen-like chorus. But again, that's another one where I think it's a bit of a precursor to Painkiller. Have we got anything cool in this? This is an original pressing, I think. Look, we've got a real crappy. I didn't get the remix. Like all the other albums I've had so far with a remaster with a bonus track in it, but I didn't get that version for some reason on this. But I do like that artwork though. I do think that's cool. That'd be cool on a t-shirt. But I went off on one. Where was I? Yeah, Hard as Iron's quite thrashy, but it's got like a Queen-like chorus, but it's okay. Right, here we go though. Blood Red Skies. I love this song. This song is a masterpiece. I love the whole. It's got like a computer game, and but the guitars are really cool. I love the symphonetic heartbeats, digital precise, boom boom. I like that boom boom at the end of every verse. It's just a really atmospheric song, and it's kind of cheesy, but it works. And it is just of all the, like, I'm thinking comic books, computer games, 80s sword and sorcery culture. You know what I'm talking about. I'm thinking Shadow of the Beast, Frank Frazetta artwork on the Conan books and Heavy Metal magazine. It just conjures up all that sort of imagery. And the lyrics to it are the story of, robots taking over, and it's like a final stand against this army of cyborg. So you could say this is the sequel to Metal Gods. But I love Blood Red Skies, and apparently it wasn't played on this tour, but it was played on the Epitaph tour, and I saw Priest on the Epitaph tour, and when they played that live, I was like, oh. But yeah, it's corny as hell, but I don't care. I love it. Blood Red, and this is the thing about Priest. Like, Blood Red Skies for me is worth the admission alone with this album. Like, what's wrong with this album? The good parts kind of make up for it, and then Blood Red Skies just gets it over the finishing line. It's like, yeah, whatever. Blood Red Skies, that's it. So this album this album just scrapes by on points, shall we say? But that's what's so great about Priest. With a catalogue as long as this, even their least, their worst albums still have some of my favourite songs on. So Point of Entry is probably one of my least favourite albums, but I love Desert Plains. This is pretty down at the bottom, but I love Blood Red Skies, so there's no complete stinker for me. They all have their redeeming features, and even their worst album will have one of their best songs on. I'm a Rocker is kind of just AOR. It's alright. It's neither here nor there, really. Then they've got a cover of Johnny Be Good. I mean, this is such a mixed bag, this album. It's ridiculous. And yeah, it's like an 80s metal version of Johnny Be Good. And when it gets to like the interlude solo-y section, there's like this really good little section of it. And the way the song's been rearranged and the way it's like, if you just change the lyrics, this probably would have been a good song. It didn't necessarily need to be a cover. It's weird. I don't know. Yeah, I think they should just done like a fast version of the original song. Like, they've completely priested it up, but it kind of is pointless being a cover. It could have just been a song on its own. But whatever. Then we got Love You to Death, which is it's got a cool like bouncy sort of rhythmic, like a bouncy pre-chorus to it with a big Love You to Death chorus. So the solos on Love You to Death are bloody awesome. And then we got this closer, Monsters of Rock, which is almost industrial. The way it's like got that dun, 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 you know, Terminator drum kit again, with this Robin, this dark voice telling the story of heavy metal, how it came out of the blood and concrete of the Black Country. And it's all right though. It's pretty cool. Do you know what I'd like? This might be a controversial. I'd like the band to re-record this, or just do a smaller show. Like, they're playing arenas on their current tour. I'd love them to just do a scaled down show just in a theatre somewhere, like a small venue, and play this album in full. And I'd love to hear it today with an actual drum kit where everything's just tidied up. It's just 2 guitars, a bass, and a drum kit, and the songs tidied up, re-recorded just today, like today's technology, without all the synthetic 80s crap. And I bet these songs would stand up. I think these songs aren't bad within themselves. They're just, the production is just very of its time. But yeah, Blood Red Skies wins it for me. It's a very mixed album, but the good does outweigh the bad. And in Priest's whole catalogue, I can forgive it. It's not going to be a go-to album, but it's alright. It has its place in the catalogue, I suppose. And like I say, in terms of guitar and tone and things like that, you hear echoes, seeds being planted for what's to come next. And we're talking about that tomorrow. Right, that's all I've got to say for now. And I'll see you tomorrow, where we're going to be talking about Painkiller. I'll see you later.